Here's a chance for a second. South African lead. South Africa out of this world.
We are live here at OR Tambo, ready to welcome our champion queens home.
Finally, it's home!
I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
I need to be here just to welcome the team, Desiree Alice, technical staff, and Bayana for bringing the cup to South Africa.
We are very proud of them and we're here to support them.
It's so exciting and electrifying.
Very proud moment, not only for Bayana, but I think everyone in South Africa.
Those visuals really make me quite emotional because Banyana have achieved what many thought was impossible. And it was an achievement against all financial odds. What I mean by financial odds, I mean that usually a continental champion comes with a biokineticist, a nutritionist, a personal chef, a trainer. The list is endless, but the point that they did was against all odds. Yes, some do have a normal 9-to-5 job, even though they're African champions, and some do have international contracts. So the big question here is, why do they not all have personal kit sponsors? It really does not make sense why they don't have personal sponsors as African champions. Advancing women's sport, that is our topic for this morning, and we're going to delve into it and talk about it because it is important. Our esteemed speakers will be here dissecting the topic that has been well researched and how we can all just get together and collaborate to make an impact. Ladies and gentlemen, they are here. Some gents, good morning. It's fantastic to have all of us here this morning. It's such a room filled with important guests. I'm not even sure. I'm just going to say all protocol observed because we've got champions, we've got board members, we've got incredible people that are here this morning, just to hear a little bit of why we are here. Now, how do we go about advancing women's sport? We're living in an age where communicating is easier. You can get the Unilever marketing manager email address on Google. You can send her a proposal. You can give her all the great accolades that come with being a Proteas player, Banyana player. It does sound easy, doesn't it? But it actually isn't. And it is those women that are sitting in key positions of decision makers that have to be explained to why it is important to back women's sport. You have to convince them that there is financial rewards in supporting women's sport. But why is that the case? Why do we need to prove to someone that it is beneficial for your company, for your brand to be associated with an African champion? In 2022, we're still chanting equal pay to athletes that are coming back to South Africa wearing green and gold with a gold medal around their necks. That makes absolutely no sense. Now, there is a way, and there are ways that we can all work together to be intentional in our collaborative efforts in advancing women's sport. Working together will definitely get us there quicker. Now, the systemic stairway talks about collaborating being quite essential, and it is those that are in leadership positions and also becoming facilitators in collaborative efforts. So on that note, I'd like to call onto the stage to give us a little bit more on this very robust and systemic stairway methodology. Let's welcome to the stage Dr. Julian Day.
Thank you for inviting me here, and thank you for allowing me to participate in women's sport. I'm afraid I've got a presentation. As we go through it, sorry, do you want me to speak here? Okay. Do you want me to... As we go through it, you're going to see how we built this stairway that you see on the flip chart there. The way that it works is as a collaborative effort. It's trying to get a conversation going across all sorts of stakeholders in women's sport. And what Kaz asked me to do was tell us what the stairway is, tell us how we built it, and what are the implications. So I'll try and do that very quickly. We have challenges, we have complexity. That's what I like to work in. And I use that squiggly little sort of icon there to represent complexity. And I think whenever we're dealing with complex situations, we're basically asking ourselves three questions. And the first question is, what is going on? We have to make sense of the thing that we're managing. And then we can ask, what shall we do? But there's no point in making decisions if we don't commit to action. So we have to make commitments, and then we can make real change. And this systemic stairway methodology, it really is a methodology that allows you to do that. So it starts off with a question. And what basically happened was Kaz said to me, I've got a problem. This was introduced via Henley Business School. And I said to Kaz, yeah, but it's great to have a question. Turn a problem into a question. Because human beings are great when they're faced with a question. We're not great when we have a problem that we're arguing about and everybody's got a different answer to it. But when we've got a question and we're all trying to answer that question, we're kind of at our best. And we looked at this situation, and then we went into the sense-making phase of it. And I'm going to talk mainly about that. I'm going to just thank Henley for sponsoring this and for connecting myself and Kaz together. I'm a visiting faculty at Henley Business School. So when we were talking about what is the question, I think Kaz found it quite interesting to sort of, you know, it kind of didn't just come out immediately. She said, actually, what we want to do is we want to commercialize women's sport. And if you look at the question there, it says, given the fact that we've got 15 years of experience, we've done some learning, we've got a media exposure, what do we have to manage well in order to turn it into a money-making enterprise? And I thought that's a very bold question. So what we did then was we got groups of people, and I hope that you can see their names up there as we go through it. We put them into little groups, and Kaz organized a spectrum, a cross-spectrum of people, from sports people, administrators, etc. And we put them into little groups and said, could you answer this question? Could you talk to each other? Could you have a conversation? And you'll see that we ended up with, I think it was 6 groups there. And off they went. They had little conversations. They thought about this question. And basically what we ended up with is multiple perspectives. So when we're trying to collaborate and we've got a big messy situation, how do we take multiple perspectives and pull them together into something that we can work with? And we ended up with a huge mess. I like mess. Mess is fantastic. We ended up with 80 factors, and we went through a process of pulling them down into 24 sub-themes, and we ended up with 8 themes. Now, I'll just very quickly go through what these themes are. One of them is we need to showcase women's sport with intentions to benefit commercially. That was one of the themes that came out. Another theme was the strength of collaboration and alignment of decision-making toward an agreed vision. All of these things are things that need to be managed. In no particular order, public appreciation of newsworthy performances and real stories in women's sport. Another very important theme that came out of this collaboration was development of business acumen. If we're going to commercialize women's sport, we need to have the acumen that allows us to do it. Another one was confidence in a compelling brand that does justice to women's sport. Infrastructure to boost participation and opportunities. Creativity in attracting all sports consumers and potential consumers to women's sports. And last, but absolutely by no means least, earning potential and financial security for a high-performance sportswomen. So basically, we synthesized from multiple perspectives these various contributions. Each one of them had more detail, but I'm not going to go into the detail because you can see it there on the stairway. But we know by looking underneath exactly what each of those 8 elements means. So when we look at our systemic stairway methodology, we've now done some sense making. We've taken this question and pulled it together and found some themes, some things that need to be managed. But the problem then is what are those priorities? What are the priorities amongst all of this? And for that, we have this concept of high leverage. So what is high leverage? If I'm driving along a road and there's a big rock in my way, you know, my pathway is impeded. I can't get where I want to go. So I've got to move the rock. That's the important thing that I need to do. But if I get out and push the rock, you know, I'm wasting my energy because even if I can move it, it's not the most efficient way of moving it. So what do we need to do? The best thing that I can do is find a lever. Because if I can find a lever and put that lever in the right place, then I can move that rock with no problem whatsoever. But there's a very important thing that we need, which is this little fulcrum there, because without that fulcrum, the engineering doesn't work. And I think very important whenever we're dealing with something complex is we've got to know the difference between 2 words that we tend to use interchangeably. We tend to use the word important and the word priority interchangeably. We'll say something's very, very important or something's very, very high priority. But to me, those words are very, very different. And if you ask me in this situation what's important, I'll tell you moving the rock is important. I've got to get that rock out of the way. But if you ask me what my priority is to find a lever, because then I can do it more efficiently. So we've got this idea that priorities leverage important outcomes. And how on earth did we find the priorities? Brace yourself, because you're now going to look at a spider's web of, I'm going to show you what we did, but don't really try and understand it, but I'll just show you what we did. We took these 8 variables, these 8 things that we need to manage if we're going to commercialize women's sport, and we ask what influences what. Which one of these influences the other things? And about 90 minutes later, we had an answer to this question. But we had a conversation, basically, and I think there was about 20 of us in this conversation. And I think halfway through the conversation, people were wondering, what on earth are we doing here? And they had to wait 90 minutes to get an answer. But we just said, what influences what? And we drew these arrows, and there's plenty of debate about which way the arrow goes. It's basically a learning conversation. But we end up with a very interesting little ratio. You can see here that this particular variable has 2 influences going out. Okay, can you see that? What it does is it influences 2 of the other variables, but is influenced by 5. So this particular one, showcasing women's sports, is influenced by 5, but only influences 2. And we did the same for all the other variables. This one has a 1 to 6. This one has a 4 to 3. This one has a 5 to 2. And by now, people are starting to get a little bit hypnotized by all these lines. And they're wondering if this will ever end, but it did end. And in the end, we have our ratios for all of these variables. Now, what does it tell us? It tells us a story. If you look at here, you can see that I've put some of these in red and some of these in green, and I've numbered them. And if you look at number 1, it's telling us where the lever is, because number 1 is hugely influential. This variable number 1 influences all of the other variables. And that's actually the one about developing business acumen and commercial sort of acumen in how can we actually manage women's sport. It's the big driver. And so that's what we call it. We call it a driver because it's so influential. If you look at this one here, number 8, its ratio is 0 to 7. And what that tells us is that it's influenced by all of the other variables. And number 8 is actually the one that says, which is the goal. It's the big outcome that we want, which is basically, financial reward for people who deserve it because they're brilliant sports people. So we call that an outcome. And what else have we got here? We've got one, number 4 here. You can see it does a bit of influencing. The red arrow shows you that it does a bit of influencing, but it's also influenced by and the green arrow show you that. So we call that a link. And now we've got a story to tell because we can take this and take away this messy spider's web and we can put it into a stairway that looks like that. So what do? We put the drivers at the bottom of the stairs. You can't get to the top of the stairs if you don't start walking up from the bottom. And every step rests on the one below it. So the drivers there are all about acumen, infrastructure, confidence in a brand. If we don't manage the drivers, we're not going to get the outcomes that we want. The links then form the next part of the stairway, and those are all about attracting consumers, collaboration amongst decision makers toward a vision, and then we can start talking about the outcomes. And at the top of the stairway, the outcome there is actually remuneration for athletes, female athletes. So that's what this stairway does. But there's a powerful way to tell the story, and I'd rather do it using the idea of leverage. So going back to what's the rock, what's the lever, and what's the fulcrum, and the idea that drivers leverage outcomes, we can now tell the story. And here is the story. And sorry, I've got to look at the screen because I haven't memorized this by heart, okay? If you want to showcase women's sport, if you want public appreciation of it, and if you want remuneration for our female athletes, if those are the important outcomes that you want, forget it. It's not going to happen. You can't achieve the outcomes if the drivers aren't in place. And the drivers are having the acumen to commercialize sport, having the right infrastructure to do it, and having confidence in a compelling brand. It's a waste of time trying to push the rock if you haven't got that lever to pull. And if there are missing links, there's no leverage. The drivers can't leverage the outcomes. And those links are about attracting people, consumers to sport, and strengthening the collaboration amongst all the decision makers. And if we've got the driver and the lever, we can move the rock and get the outcome to work. So that's the systemic stairway. And of course, thank you. I've never seen it so nicely represented as the way G-Sport represents it. I think I might hire them for this in the future. That's the systemic stairway. It kind of gives you a roadmap. If you want to actually do this, what are the things that you have to manage and what are the priorities? Of course, we're going to hear the outcomes of this. There's, Kaz sent me a list of achievements, and I think we're going to talk about that. But if we ask, what is the impact of this? What's really going on here? There is a network. And a network, I think ladies' sport, women's sport is kind of a network of people. You've got athletes, you've got administrators, you've got all sorts of people. And you can see that it's loosely connected there. People make connections to a few other people, and you can't really manage something when you've got this loose network. If we take that network and we put people in small groups and say, talk to each other, develop a perspective, let's answer a question that needs to be answered. Now you've got some perspectives going on. And then what you can then do is say, could you please contribute those perspectives? And we'll build a stairway out of it. And now what's happened, we have a small world. We're all on the same page. We can all see the same thing, and we've all got the same roadmap. And if you look at, unfortunately, I'm going to use a medical metaphor. If you look at an epidemic, it's very difficult to get an epidemic going in a regular network like you see on the, the right-hand side, yeah. Left-hand side. Left-hand side, yeah. It's because what happens is you infect a few people and then it fizzles out because there's not enough opportunity to make connections. But if you put a hub into the middle of this network, something that we can all connect to easily, like a map, what it means is that we all understand everything. And you can get contagious manageability. You can say, look, this is what we're trying to do. Look here. And basically, Kaz, I think what you've done is you've created a small world here where you've connected a whole lot of people and they can see things in the same way. And what happens then, manageability is when everybody knows that everybody knows what's going on. So I'm just going to say that again. When everybody knows that everybody knows what's going on, you've got something manageable. And maybe that's what you've done, is created manageability in this network. And I was delighted to hear about the netball going professional. And I think there are stories that people have, and there's lots of learning. And I think we've got to start with the number one driver of pulling this together, doing the research, getting the programs. And I wish you good luck with that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Day. I'm very, very glad that you have scholars and academics in here. Otherwise, that would have gone over our heads. So we're very fresh this morning, but I also want to ask a couple of questions and find out from some of the ladies here what you think the missing link is. Because at the moment, according to your systemic stairway, we are achievers. We are African champions. So we're right on top. But hold on, we're still trying to build the bottom and we're still trying to find the infrastructures to support women's football, yet we are African champions. So we almost have to work backwards now to say, okay, we got to this level. How do we now build the foundation to ensure that the next generation doesn't go through what some of the players that are here have gone through? I said I'm not going to mention, but I know the champions are sitting right in front here. We've got we've got the champions right in front here. We've got Nomsa Mahlangu is also here. Should I mention all your titles? Okay. UJ Director, USA President, Lydia Munyepao, COO of SAFA. We've got, okay, the champions are there. I'm not going to mention all of you by name. We've got the star Keiji Munchani here, #1 on the continent. We've got the Director of Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, whom goes back with me years back to when I was in my 20s and she was a physio. 360, here we are. She's now a director in that capacity. Who else did I see? I mean, Ntambi Ravele, who's also, should I mention both? Which title do we do? Okay, she's the chairperson of SA Women in Sport Foundation, as well as capacity of the board member of Brand South Africa. So these are some of the links, Dr. Day, that are here today. Natalie Detroit is here, and I know we had a private conversation, but I said to her, you need to approach the situation that is here. Okay, so I'm going to make an example. If I want to be part of Momentum, I've got my communication science degree, my postgrad, Momentum is here. Surely this is the platform and the environment that would perhaps open an opportunity for me to speak to someone at Momentum. Why is it that we come to these breakfasts? We have our coffees, we speak to the important people, we take pictures, but we never use the links that have been created for us. We are here now. Nielsen is here. I've always wanted to work in Nielsen Sport. Unfortunately, I can't now, but they're here. So if you find an opportunity and John is here, grab him and say, hey, I have 1 or 2 ideas. Is it okay if I get an email address? Because this is exactly why we're here. We need to collaborate as women. And I think that's the platform that Kaz Naidu has put for G Sport for Girls. Having started in 2006, profiling women in sport, it was not easy. Because back then, profiling women in sport, it's like, okay, here she comes again. Now we must talk about the ladies again. But now we are openly discussing the achievements of our athletes, our administrators, and our coaches. And thanks to platforms such as G Sport for Girls, here we are having the opportunity to be collaborative and intentional in our methods of engaging with each other so we can monetize women in sport. And we have to own it. We want money. I want to be paid. I'm a woman in sport. I want to be paid. KG wants to be paid. For her to go into the netball, look at me giving a new sport, to the a tennis court, she needs to make sure that she's physically able to carry her efforts on the court, represent South Africa, traveling the world. She's got a family she leaves behind. The players need to get paid. This is their career. It's not a by the way. Oh, what are you going to do after football? We don't ask Dr. Day what he's going to do after being a doctor. We don't ask a nurse, what are you going to do after being a nurse? Why do we ask our poor athletes? So what are you going to do after playing soccer? It's a career. We need to make sure that we establish the foundations in order for them to be sustainable post or professional career. On that note, I'd like to welcome Kez. I went completely off script. Kez, I'd like to go. Welcome Kez to the stage, please.
Do you know why I hired Lebu? Because when you have a first ever event, you actually need someone who can go off script they can do what they want to do, and in the end they smash it because they know what the goal is. So on that note, a very good morning to everybody, and thank you very much to former Momentum G Sport Award winner Lebu Motswedi, who was winner in the Women in Radio category a few years ago, as we continue to celebrate the power of recognition to make sure that when you win on the Momentum G Sport Award stage, you stay part of our family, and we will always keep you involved. And to say that every woman that will appear on the stage today has been paid by G Sport. Player appearance fees have been paid. I was going to do a welcome, and I said, Lebo, I don't want to go on stage, off stage. It's so messy because we like an uncluttered stage. But you're all family, and I think you all know you're welcome. We have stakeholders who are part of the Henley process that are here today. Someone like Muditambi Ravele, who really started a movement for women's sport back in 1996. So when it came to our turn in 2006 to launch G Sport, we did have a foundation. We hadn't started from scratch, but it did feel scratchy because who was launching a digital initiative in 2006? So just a very short story. We decided there was a information gap that needed to be plugged, and the story of women's sport needed to be told. So my husband and I went on an 8.5K walk. We came back. He said, you're a lawyer, I'm a journalist, let's make this happen. We hopped onto Google. We taught ourselves how to build a website. We built a website. And in 2022, these are the sponsors of the Momentum G Sport newsroom. For many years, we self-funded the initiative. We used to laugh because every time I did cricket commentary, all the money used to go to G Sport. And my son actually says, I know G Sport is the firstborn, and he's not wrong. G Sport turns 16 on Monday, and ahead of our birthday, we are gifting this commercial stairway to the women's sport industry. So around the country, there is a roadmap to understand that women's sport don't need bonuses. They need to make money from sport and be paid salaries. And the way to do that is to collaborate and follow a stairway that allows you to keep the summit in place. So I just want to say around the sponsors you see here, I never make branding unless there are sponsors to put in the back. I know what my logo looks like. So I often say, unless there are sponsors, we don't want to have branding. The G Sport newsroom is powered by Momentum in partnership with Telkom. Nielsen Sports South Africa is our marketing insights partner. The Mail and Guardian helps us promote and drive African women's sport coverage. Brand South Africa, I mean, let's be honest, it's the nation brand, it's the country, it's the flag, it allows us to feel who we are. We've got the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, who endorsed us back in 2015, and we now run the country's National Women's Sport Recognition Program. And Henley Business School really came to the party when I got there in December 2020. And I said, we've done a lot for 15 years, but we don't understand the value that we have created. And it's a kind of a bit of a habit that women have. We tend to keep working and we don't celebrate, and we keep working. And after the comrades, we say, what's the next race? So what this allowed us to do was to take stock of where we are. And when we collaborated with everyone, we realized what our value to the industry was. And in 2021, we went on to sign 9 partners for the Momentum G Sport initiative. And we did that because we understood our value. And one of the outcomes of the stairway, which is that the first driver is to commercialize research. And our partnership with Nielsen, and John will talk to this a little bit later on, it allows us to show the media value of the G Sport initiative. So when we do sit with Charlotte and Subuga Mukasa, who's one of the champion women in the boardroom for women's sport, we're not asking for a favor. We're not talking about it being a charity case. We're talking about it being a serious business decision. I often say it's a 15-minute meeting. It's either a yes or a no. We do not have time to keep begging you to be on board. So if there are brands watching and listening, now's the time. In fact, you're a bit late because Desiree is back with all the trophies. And just for those who are not football savvy, what are the trophies that are here? Because you're probably a little bit nervous to come forward. Goalkeeper of the tournament, Andile Dlamini. Hands up, hands up. Yeah. And then, of course, Desiree Ellis, from player to coach to someone who has walked an incredible journey with Banyana Banyana. CAF, Coach of the Year. Sinatemba Mbata is the media officer with that glorious green jacket, and she was on the presenter spot for the Momentum G Sport Awards, and then she goes on to become a gold medal winning media officer. But when we were on the phone, I was like, what are the chances of the trophy coming to the breakfast? She's like, I'm going to have a chat. And then I was coming out of the restrooms, and I see the trophy walking into the breakfast. That is the maiden title for Banyana Banyana, the Women's African Cup of Nations. I hope that we get off cloud 9 and we ground our feet, because the hard work starts now. They've won. The win bonuses have been earned. We haven't given them anything yet. Not yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is very quickly, I'm going to take 5 minutes. When we launched the Henley partnership, we got the stairway. We were so eager to share it with everyone immediately last year. Then I said, hold the phone. Why don't we do the work for a year? And then share, because then we will have experiences to share. Have we made mistakes? Yep. Have we rolled down the stairway? We have. We straightened our crown, Charlotte. And we got back up and we made more inroads. So this is 10 advancements as reported on by the G Sport newsroom. And it's not about G Sport, it's about the industry. So the first one is the South African Handball Federation launched a women's commission. Now, you often think about the big sporting codes, but handball decided we need a women's commission that will start advising the federation itself about equal opportunities for girls and women. And that came after the launch of the Henley Commercial Stairway. And we thought that is an advancement that we've got to track and we've got to note as part of the G Sport newsroom. And we're hoping that all federations start realizing that you cannot bundle women's sport issues in a men's program, because trust me, the guy who's running it probably doesn't have a clear understanding of what's happening. Yet if you look at leaders around this room, they will in 5 minutes tell you what women's sport requires. So a women's commission is certainly going to help SA Handball Federation. Hello. Bongi Msomi is one of our greatest athletes in the country, but to land Rock Nation Sport, it is a big deal. The first sportswoman in South Africa, the first woman captain to be signed by Rock Nation after Themba Bavuma and, of course, Lungi Ngidi got involved. So she's now led the way. She's a global athlete represented by a global team, and she will bring that acumen back to South Africa. Bianca Buitendach, how well has surfing done over the years with very little recognition? And Bianca herself has charted her own way. Her journey has been one of absolute struggle and heartache at times. And then she went and did something so special, winning a historic silver medal. And from what I'm understanding, it's filtering down to the development levels of surfing around the country. Bianca's now been booked as an ambassador at Laureus Sports. She's also been booked by other municipalities to try to get more kids to surf. Well, what do you think when you think Tatiana Schoenmaker? You think, what is the journey that swimming has traveled? 25 years ago, Penny won double Olympic gold in Atlanta, and she was like the first poster girl of women's sport in the country. But then you look at someone like Tatiana, who's worked all her years, and now she's at Commonwealth Games, and there could be many more medals coming from her. But it's fascinating, and I don't keep going on about this, but I do love the story. At the Olympic Games, all medals won by Team South Africa were won by women. I think I need to put that story away, but every time I think about it, I'm just like, you know what? Just give us 20% of that high performance budget. No, just hang on. Just give me 20%, and I'll even give you a lead, like a lap first, and then women's sport will come. It's the absolute lack of structures around the country and the gold medals that just blow your mind. And that just shows you, give a woman a challenge, she'll give you an outcome, generally a medal. This was amazing. I think it's incredible for a South African captain to go and captain a global team with two other South Africans, and all three of them win a global final at Lords. It was an unbelievable day, 21 August at Lords, Marizanne Cup, with the angriest eyes you've seen, terrorized the hell out of the Southern Brave, and three South Africans walked off with global glory. This has come because Momentum introduced professional contracts for cricket in 2013, and these young women went off and got global deals of their own. And when you put these two together, magic has been created on the global stage. So do professional contracts work? Speak to Charlotte afterwards. She'll tell you it does. Andrene Ways. I mean, if you look at Paris sport in South Africa, again, I mean, KG will talk about the journey she's traveled. It is not easy. And Andrene keeps doing the business. And to go on to win South Africa's first Paralympic gold in Tokyo, we just keep ticking off the firsts. And you keep advancing up the stairway, and then you look down, you say, well, I don't really have the support, but I can still win medals. It's speaking to what you spoke about. So when we look at someone like Andrene, she has realized that I belong there. And after she won, I just saw her signing sponsors herself. So sometimes we do it the other way. We wait for the medals to come, then the sponsorship comes. I said on radio yesterday to John Matham on Cape Talk, I said, I do believe that Banyana should be fully contracted whether they won AFCON or not. I mean, it's not an AFCON-related thing. It's really a journey. I mean, you've got Rafael Wejane, who paved the way and went off and played overseas, and now we've got global stars because they've seen what is possible. It's not the gold medal, guys. It's the journey. Pro rugby contract, Zintle Mpupa. Babao Alache was the first African to sign a Euro contract, but as we were tracking Henley advancements, this news came up, and that's going to change her life, because going off to play Euro rugby from a woman's perspective, the structures are incredible there, and we will learn so much. And in a Rugby World Cup year, you can't ask for better than your stars being on a global stage. What? Now, let me just say that this is probably, it's one of my, all of them are my favorites, but one of the reasons why KG is so special is during COVID, while everyone was losing deals and programs were being cut, with the leadership and the business acumen of Emmy Casaletti Balia, KG signed a host of sponsorship deals against the run of play, to use a sporting term. Absolutely against the run of play. Congratulations to you, KG, because that is amazing. And you're going to hear her story in a short while. KG Monchane signing sponsorship deals, and that was at the GAL 2021 when she was announced newsmaker. Netball South Africa introduced in professional contracts, so important. I believe there's a great opportunity to build on this and ensure that we keep increasing that pot of money to make sure, as Lebu says, there are the right support staff around you and that you're not getting a minimal amount of money. So pro contracts are important, but the structure around it is important. I had to end with the best one. If anything, I know the struggles of each and every player in the Banyana team, but I also know the highlights that have come. I was in my hotel room in London watching the final between travel days, and I may have been shouting on the 10th floor, the only person. Natalie Germanis on the 9th floor, she's shouting. So when we got together at breakfast the next morning, we were beaming, right? Because Africa's winning. The whole Sky team were talking about Africa winning. And suddenly Banyana was being mentioned on the Sky Sports broadcast by other commentators and not the South Africans. That's how you know the world is watching. Those are the 10 advancements, many more in the Gsport newsroom, gsport.co.za at Gsport for Girls. Thank you to our sponsors for making sure that the newsroom is not a charity case, that it's a commercial business. And I'm looking forward to some insights from Jean a little bit later on about the impact of Gsport. But mostly it's the best women in sport leadership at this breakfast. We've curated the list to make sure that the business breakfast is not dominated by men, but they are just here to make sure that we do appreciate you. Brown Vessels, thank you very much. John Willis, thank you very much. Hussein Kajik is here. Charlotte Nsubugo Mukasa, just all of the sponsors that are here. It's a proper corporate investment group hug this morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kath. I'm just going to be straight to the point now. I've gone left a couple of times. Let's get. Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. I like the fact that you've highlighted that top 10 list, and that's an inspirational list that every one of us can look up to. But also, let's not be afraid to learn from other federations. I know it's usually a problem, no, but we can't. If Netball South Africa was able to give the players, I know it's different dynamics, you know, professional contracts, there's something that we can take out of that. We can learn. I think we shouldn't be afraid to learn something new that will empower ourselves as federations. And on that note, talking about research, analysis, and learning, I'd like to call onto the stage Mr. Jean Villiers from Nielsen Sport South Villiers from Nielsen Sports South Africa, just to give us an insight into the collaborative efforts they've gone through in ensuring that we are here this morning.
Yeah. If you want to send me your CV or you want a job, I hear that we're in the running for jobs. 100%, come talk to me. So yeah, thanks very much for the invite, Cass. Thanks very much. It's great to be here this morning, and I hope that there's many more of these breakfast events that we're going to be doing in the future, and you know, this collaboration and this talking and this, you know, really the industry getting together, and as Cass says, it's not just about a charity case. You know, Banyana don't want donations. It's commercial partnerships that we want now, not because they won the trophy, but because they're getting the eyeballs on screen, because they're getting the commercial value, because they're getting that return on investment that they deserve. And so when did we start this partnership? In 2021, last year. So in 2021, Cass and I got together, and as you can see there, point number 1A from that leadership, from that systemic stairway, is research. And so I hope that we're not stopping there, that we can keep going with this journey, and that we can keep partnering with you, and that we're not just right at the bottom. But we teamed up with G Sports in 2021, and we are going to be a proud partner for as long as they'll have us, to really bring together the information and the research and the data and the insights that we've got. We really see ourselves as the global leader in sports from a media valuation, data intelligence, and research point of view. And so for us as a global business to be partnering with G Sports is really special. It's really important for us not to see ourselves as a charity case, not to see women's sports as a charity case, not to arrive at these board meetings, and I'll show you the information and prove to you why you shouldn't be doing that, because for too long we've been doing that. And for too long, we've been saying we've got a men's team. And oh yeah, by the way, we've also got a women's team. So if you've got some money left over, don't you want to also just, you know, there's 11 people here, just sponsor them. So from a presentation point of view, I'm going to run through 3 separate topics. One is fan perceptions and behavior. How our fans, and at the end of the day, that's what the brands are investing in. Brands are investing in fans. Brands want to get their brand out there. If you look at all the brands that are in this room, if you look at all the brands that are in the stadium, they invest money at the end of the day to get to fans, to get to consumers, to get their product out there, to get their service out there, to get people to consume their products and services. And so let's look at what the fans are saying. Let's look at how those perceptions are changing. Then let's look at the brand opportunities, and then that key, it's not a charity, but it's a return on investment. And I'll show you some numbers from a return on investment point of view, both globally and on a local scale from a G Sports point of view. So the fan perceptions, what are fans saying? You know, we've done this research in South Africa. You know, it's not as if the fans are not interested. Fans are interested. You know, all the numbers are pointing in the right direction. From watching our national teams play, you know, why would you want to watch this? I would watch women's sport if it was more accessible. I would watch women's sport if it was available to me, and it wasn't hidden behind some paywall. It wasn't hidden behind, you know, some barrier to entry. And so we've got to make that available to the fans. If we talk about sponsorship, we talk about sports sponsorship and what the consumers are saying with regards to sports sponsorship. You know, brand sponsorship, sponsoring sporting events, brands to nowadays advertise with all the ad blockers that we've got, with all, I don't know which of you have watched content from a normal pay TV or free to air where you've actually got the adverts that come on, and you know, there's so many ads in a TV show nowadays. I was watching Carte Blanche the other day. You watch 5 minutes of Carte Blanche and 15 minutes of ads, and then 5 minutes of Carte Blanche and 15 minutes of ads. The modern consumer is not consuming it like that. The modern consumer is blocking out ads. They're blocking out the traditional way of consuming it. The one thing that they can't block out is they can't block out sports sponsorship. You cannot block out a brand that is advertising, that is communicating within game, within the stadium, on the players' shirts, using the players' social media platforms. You can't block that. So the fans are trusting brand sponsorships. The other one that fans are trusting, and I'll talk about the individuals later and why the individuals in this room are so important, is because fans are trusting what these individual athletes are saying about a brand. the influencer space, the athlete space. Gone are the days where you lie and you say, I'm lying on the beach, I'm advertising this shampoo, tomorrow I'm doing that shampoo. Now we're actually looking at these athletes, and if you use a product and you believe in that product, we are going to listen to you and we are going to consume that product because we trust in what you say. So us as consumers are saying that from a research point of view. Fans believe in brand support. 78% of South Africans believe in the importance of companies and brands supporting women's sport. So if we're doing that research and it's pointing in the right direction, it's not just made up. It's not numbers that I'm saying on the stage. It's not Cass shouting and saying it's not a charity case. It's not all the speakers that are coming out here to say, please, please sponsor us. These are South Africans. This is research that we've conducted. 80% of South Africans are saying we've got to invest in women's sport because we'll believe in those brands and corporates. And then from a participation point of view, we're seeing, the Lionesses, as they're called, are also in the final this coming weekend. Banyana have made us so proud. The one thing that we've really got to drive through, and if we want to be serious from a grassroots point of view, how are we going to get young girls to take part in sport? How are we going to get them to sit in these rooms? How are we going to get the future administrators to be women and stand up and say, Banyana deserve X, Y, and Z. It's all about participation. At the end of the day, from a research point of view, back again in terms of young girls and women being interested in sport, the number one reason why a woman would be interested in sport is through participation at school. It's touching and feeling a cricket bat, a netball, getting in a swimming pool. And if we look fundamentally at a South African grassroots point of view, do we give enough girls and boys at a young age an opportunity to touch and feel a cricket bat, a rugby ball, a netball, a football? Do we give them that opportunity? Because at the end of the day, not all of them can be AFCON winners. Not all of them can be, going to the Wimbledon. Not all of them can be professional athletes and win gold medals. A really small group of them can be. But if we make the young girls and boys in this country touch and feel sport, they become fans. And the more fans that we've got, the more people are interested in it, the more people are watching the sport, the more the brands want to invest in it. So this is really, for me, a crux of, if we are going to drive women's sport in this country, we have got to look at that grassroots point of view. And it's not about creating the next Banyana team. It's about creating sports fans. And if we can get them to touch and feel that, they will become sports fans and they will believe and they'll look up to these players and say, I want to just go and watch them. I might not be able to play, but I just want to go and watch them and support them. Then from a behavior point of view, the one thing that's changed fundamentally in our lives, and the reason why I bring this up is because it's a great slide in the sense that our lives have changed. And on the one side, our lives have changed, that all of you that are sitting here listening to me, and gone are the days where we have got undivided attention. We didn't even start this presentation by saying switch off your phones, because we know you're not going to switch off your phones. We know you're going to be on social media. Half of you are checking your emails or taking a phone call. This is the way that we consume our lives. We are consuming our lives across multi-platforms, multiple devices, and it creates an opportunity. Gone are the days where, when sport in the world started, you can only watch sport when you come to the Wanderers. Then the likes of a TV broadcaster came on, a free-to-air and a pay TV, and they opened up sport to more people, to more fans to consume it that weren't in that location. And now we've got this opportunity where there are hundreds and thousands, and every day there's a new app or a new device or a new social media platform that's being developed where people are consuming sport and content across multiple devices at multiple times. And the reason why I bring this up is because it is important for our young women and our teams to make sure that you are capitalizing on all of this. You do not just have to capitalize on the TV. You do not just have to capitalize and wait for the likes of a SuperSport or SABC to come and produce your game. Now, with the technology that we've got and all these platforms that we've got, people are consuming this content across multiple devices. And so we've got to make sure that we use this to our benefit. How's this one for an announcement? It almost, I can't believe it that we're in 2022. Half the conversations that we're sitting here, we're going, are we still in the 1980s or the 1970s? EA has just added women's soccer clubs to their video game. You know, this is a massive step in the right direction. And if we talk about here from playing games online, that Gen Z generation, that's where they're consuming sport. That's where they're getting their role models. That's where they are learning about teams and leagues. A lot of the South African young boys and girls that are gamers, for example, are playing NFL and NBA, and they've got Euros that are sitting in the States. They'll never, ever even go and see them. They'll never, ever touch and feel them. And so now, for the first time, we've got women that are going to become role models through a different platform. It's not just about watching Banyana Banyana on TV. It's now, I'm going to control a player for a season. I'm going to put a team together and control them. And brands is another opportunity where you can get involved. It's not just about the live and the on-field and the digital. The gaming side of things is a massive opportunity. And I know Telkom, big investors in that gaming space, but the gaming side of things, it's great to see. And then we'll stop and pause on this slide. And I know I've put a lot of numbers on the stage, and I don't want to sound like our doctor that tried to give you a lecture here. But really, I just wanted to stop and just look at the broadcast hours and the viewership numbers. And for me, this is fundamental that we look at this. And so from an exposure point of view, this is one of the big reasons why we as Nielsen have partnered with G-Sports, and Cass has been saying this for 16 years. You know, it's about breaking that exposure gap. It's about getting more exposure for the young girls in this country from a sporting point of view. Let's look at TV broadcast hours. Men's sports, this is a 12-month period. I think we've looked at 2021 to 2022. Men's sport, free-to-air and pay TV. This is sports coverage. Hours on screen on free-to-air, 8,900. Women's sport, 760. Pay TV, almost 120,000 hours and 3,500 hours from a women's sport point of view. You know, so it's the gap is massive still with regards to the exposure of getting that content on there. And yes, it's great. Banyana Banyana have won, and this final is going to be played out for the next month or two. But then the next competition comes, and you know, it'll fizzle away. And unless we keep that momentum and we keep that going, and I know from a sporting point of view, the broadcasters are saying yes, we want to put this content out there. And I know SABC are putting on the Hollywood Bet Super League at the moment from a football point of view, which is wonderful to see. But this we've got to change. This is a shocker to see. If we have 120,000 hours versus 3,500 hours. And then if we've got to look at their viewership, and this is taking viewership of all these programs, so it's not just looking at one or two specific programs. Free to air viewership on average, and yes, I understand that there's way less hours on screen of women's sport, but if we were to look at that viewership on average, 160,000 viewers of the men's sport, 160,000 viewers of the women's sport. I think you can give yourself a round of applause just for that, because that's amazing. And the pay TV one, 120,000 hours of men's pay TV on screen, 3,500, and you're close. It's 14,000 and 10,000. I mean, that's unbelievable to see that there's a need. Somebody wants to consume this content. If you're going to put quality women's content on these screens, people are going to consume the content. We've got to close this gap, and I know G-Sports are doing it. And how else can we do this? I mean, there's different ways. It's not just waiting for the broadcasters, the free-to-airs and the pay TVs. Nowadays, with your subscriptions that you are taking out from a local point of view, Disney Plus has launched, the Telkom One platform from a local point of view, the Netflixes of the world, all these subscriptions that are coming out there. There's now direct to consumer. You know, why Banyana I've got to wait for SAFA or wait for SuperSport or SABC. They could potentially create their own platform, and people can consume their content directly from Banyana. Subscribe for 5 Rand a month. It sounds silly, but we get 5 million South Africans to subscribe at 5 million Rand a month. We are changing the game. We're paying our own salaries. We're not waiting for, you know, let's sell these broadcast rights fees and, you know, let's... So it's really breaking it down in the sense that let's use the opportunities that there are, because these opportunities are there. It's not as if we've got to wait for somebody else to do it for us. From a brand opportunities point of view, sponsorship has changed massively. Gone are the days where, you know, you pay me a rights fee and you get a few billboards around the screen. The whole game of sponsorship is changing. There's a lot more opportunities for you to sell as rights holders, as individual athletes. Every sponsorship contract is changing nowadays. It's no longer a 3-year sponsorship deal that you sign and you're done there with that sponsorship deal. You as an individual athlete could potentially partner with 3 or 4 or 5 car brands, and every month you're doing a different car launch because they want to use your digital community. They want to use your personality at the Land Rover launch, then at the Toyota launch, then at the Merc launch. It's not as if you've got to sign your soul away for 3 or 5 years and they hardly pay you what you deserve. Unbundling of women's sports, and this is really we've seen it from a globaling point of view, and when I say unbundling of women's sports, it's really what I started with, to say it's not about going to a sponsor, sitting in a room, presenting for 2 hours about our men's football team, that is, you can get all these rights and then we want 80 million, and then, oh yeah, by the way, we've also got a women's team here on the side. Do you have any money left? Can you give it to us? If we unbundle these rights and we sell these rights separately, and we are seeing this in sport, and we've got to thank the likes of a Momentum that are sponsoring the women's cricket team and not the men's cricket team, the likes of a Sasol that are sponsoring Banyana Banyana. You know, the likes of a Telkom and a Spa that are getting involved in these in our national netball leagues. You know, we've got to unbundle these rights. If we walk into a presentation, if we walk into a sponsor, into a boardroom, we are presenting here the Sundowns ladies team. That's what we are presenting. We are not presenting the Sundowns men's team and then the ladies team. We are presenting, these are the rights that you can get. This is how good our performance is. And like I said, give us a yes or no answer, because this is a return on investment that you can get. If you don't want to get involved, we're going to walk out the room and go to the next brand. It's not about sticking around and hanging around and begging for your life and then signing your life away because, you know, this is the only money that we could get. So really, I mean, we've been talking about this unbundling, and we're seeing it now from a global point of view with regards to the World Cups that are different, and the FIFAs and the Rugby World Cups and the Cricket World Cups hosting different tournaments. So this is really great to see, and you see the increase in investment. And then from a local opportunities point of view, it's always great, you know, for us to look at the global side, but brands say, but where are the local opportunities? And it's now, you know, past are the days where we can't come up with excuses to say, but there's no women's sport to invest in. There are individual teams that are playing in the likes of a Telkom Netball League and the likes of a Hollywood Bet Super League. There are leagues, there are federations, there are individual athletes that are sitting in this room that are looking for money. There's broadcast sponsorships that you can have a look at through the likes of a SABC, through the likes of a Supersport. Become the broadcast partner of the Netball World Cup taking place, I think, in a year's time, 28 July, I think it is next year. And then there's the likes of a G-Sport platform. And I don't think CAS takes enough credit for this, but really from an exposure point of view, if there's one platform in this country that you as a corporate want to get involved in from a women's sports point of view, and not as a charity case, because I'll show you why you're not going to get involved as a charity case, is this platform. This platform is a central platform to sport in this country that is doing the function of government. At the end of the day, this platform is giving exposure to so many athletes and teams and individuals, and it is a commercial opportunity, not a charity case. So don't get involved from a charity case. You're not going to get any tax relief or that sort of thing from a charity point of view. Then return on investment. I showed you the viewership numbers earlier, the global viewership numbers from the Women's Premier League in the UK skyrocketed. The 100 competition, which CAS was involved in, viewership numbers breaking barriers. And then from a local point of view, and Banyana, give yourself a round of applause, 3.2 million people watching that final. So to put that in perspective, the URC final, which was played in Cape Town, lots of sponsors in the rugby space, was viewed by about 600,000 individuals. So Banyana's final, 3.2 million viewers, and you know the average PSL game is probably between 1 to 1.5 million viewers from a men PSL point of view. So 3.2 million, and this is why I say it's not a charity case. These are eyeballs on screen that is coming out. It's not just, oh yeah, we've won the trophy. No one's seen that we've won the trophy. Globally, what is happening? Attendance numbers are breaking the records around the world. You know, even I'm sure the Banyana players will tell you. I mean, that final looked ridiculous. I don't know how you guys walked out there. It looked like a rave concert. Lasers going off and flares going off. I don't know. Were you in Ibiza or where were you? And then from a social and digital point of view, I pointed out the social digital media platforms. Those are the platforms at the end of the day that individuals and teams can own. You've got to, from a broadcast point of view, it's great to be on TV. It's great to get that mainstream media point of view, but you are not in control of that. You're not in control of your TV exposure that goes out there. It's producers, it's the broadcasters that have brought those rights that decide which angles to see, that decide which commentators go on there, that decide which brands they want to see. But your social media platforms, your digital platforms are the platforms that you as individuals and as teams can own and control 100%. And this is where you've got to commercialize it. You have got to commercialize it within that digital community, because if we look at the numbers, you look at the Chelsea women's team, 3.2 million Instagram followers. It's higher than 13 of the EPL teams. That's unbelievable. From a Six Nations point of view, and these are global stats, but I really just want to show these stats to you to show that we must stop feeling sorry for ourselves and saying, we can't get there, because these numbers are pointing in the right direction. And then as I mentioned, from an investment point of view, with regards to delivering real tangible results, delivering reach across all of their platforms from a G Sports point of view, and delivering media value, delivering real, true value. We measure this value, we do this analysis. If a brand had to come to me, I'll give you exactly the same value. It's not as if I'm going to inflate these numbers because I've got a partnership with Cass and the G Sports team. These are the numbers. The numbers stand, and we as an individual company can put our stamp on that and say, these are the exposure numbers. So year in, year out, in the next year, in the next 2 or 3 years, these numbers will keep continuing to grow. And so these are the PR numbers across print, online, radio, and TV. And then from a social media point of view, a cumulative reach of under 600 million. Receiving QR media value, which is not AVE or PR value. It's a quality indexed QR media value from a Nielsen currency point of view. 57 million rand in 12 months. That's unbelievable, from a return on investment point of view. And again, like I say, if you as a brand come to me and ask me for a report on G Sports and you want to get involved, these are the numbers that will show you. This is not done just from a one-sided point of view. So what are the key takeaways? And I know I've probably gone over my time, but what are the key takeaways? I'll leave my email address and you can send me your CV. Can we take that as a barter? Key takeaways for me. We're really entering an era where women's sport in South Africa is being considered to be a key to their strategy and success of brands, of sports, and of the media. It's really key. The time is now, better than ever to get involved in the space. And as a brand, I promise you, if you want to get in now, you're going to get in now at the cheapest possible level. Because if you try and wait 12 months or 18 months and this thing keeps going, you are going to get in at a premium. Because the young women in this room and the rights holders in our country are starting to understand the value that they've got. They are starting to unpack that value, and they're starting to really sell themselves at the value that they're worth. So if you as a brand want to get in today or tomorrow. So really tap into the fan base's values. We as fans, we are, yes, I'm a father of 2 daughters. Yes, I'm a fan that loves coming to the cricket here at Wanderers. I'm a fan. I'm a consumer. Tap into my values, as I mentioned earlier. Enable athletes to inspire participation. For me, that's really something. As the athletes, as the teams, that we've got to drive. If we want to create fans for Banyana Banyana, we've got to get young girls and boys in this country to touch and feel soccer balls. Otherwise, they're not going to watch you. Otherwise, they're not going to become fans, because they don't have a soccer field at their school. They don't have a swimming pool. They don't have tennis courts. So they can never become fans of your sport if they do not touch and feel that. They're not just going to one day wake up and go, I'm a Man United fan, or I'm a Liverpool fan. Somebody had to touch and feel and give them their first jersey, give them a ball, introduce them to that. And so participation in athletes, please, that's a real key thing. Use your influence to drive that participation. And then as brands, be ambitious, bold, and brave. And the reason why I say that is because gone are the days, the social media, the youth, the younger generation are going to call you out. Gone are the days where you can just sit on the fence. You can just say, I'm not going to give an opinion about the war. I'm not going to give an opinion about women's sport. Don't ask me too many questions about this. You as brands have got to stand either on the one side, and if you don't want to support it, it's fine. That's your opinion. That is where you want to be. But don't sit on the fence. You've got to make a decision on one side or the other. Thank you.
The number is 073. I did tell you that he's got some really fantastic insights. I mean, take the research that Nielsen has done, Jean and his team, guys. And Nomvula, I don't know if some of the elderly people here, I don't know if I don't know if you've seen on social media, but immediately after winning, there was a video circulating, and she walked across with a lipstick. Look at how many views that has. Take the research, look for a South African branded lipstick. Get the two together. She loves playing in her lipstick. She wants to look pretty on the field while winning gold medals. I don't understand how it's so difficult. Sometimes we try and overanalyze sponsors, but it's the smallest things. KG has braids. Darling is a hair sponsor. Get Darling to sponsor her and back her up while she's playing. She's got tight braids that stay intact during her travels. She says yes. Okay. All right. So I think we do try and overanalyze the numbers, but these numbers that John mentioned are fantastic. I'm a little bit saddened by the numbers I saw in terms of viewership. 764 hours women versus 8,900 to men in terms of the broadcast viewership. But it also shows that people want to watch women, and they want to watch women play sport on a free-to-air channel. But and I understand your love, Ntambi, because you know it's I'm a broadcaster. Melinda Lombard is at the back. She's a broadcaster at SABC, and it's one of my biggest pains as a broadcaster to cheerlead women in sport. And here I am talking about, yes, women in sport, but there's not a single program on South African television that profiles women in sport. I'm not lying to you. The very last one was done by myself and Valen Kirtley on SABC Sport. There is not a single program that profiles women in sport in both SABC and SuperSport. How then do we get the momentums to come on board and back us up? So it's very emotional for me because I'm very passionate about women in sports. So on that note, to a brand that continues to support women in sports, supporting the first African woman to summit Mount Everest. I mean, that was an incredible feat too. Supporting the women's Proteas. Please let's put our hands together now for the keynote address from Charlotte Nsubuga Mukasa.
Nomvula, uphi sisi? Ukhona Nomvula? Ukhona? Okay, cool, fantastic. So I'm going to get Nomvula's number, 07, whatever it is. Nomvula, you're going to be part of my campaign. And I'm going to pay you. I'm going to pay you to play and dance in lipstick, my girl. So please give me your number. I'm being serious. Okay, cool. That was not part of my intro. Sorry. Off script. My name is Charlotte Nsubuga Mukasa. A lot of people get it wrong, so just call me Charlie. The reason why I'm here, actually, I don't have street cred to be here because I'm not an athlete. The reason why I'm here is because I want to put women's sport on the map. And I was taking a hiatus off social media because I'm addicted and I'm working on that disease. But I said, because of my impact and my influence, I need to do something. And I should stop being a hypocrite to my team. And the only way for me to do something about it is to get back on social media and just discipline myself a little. So I put a post on LinkedIn talking about our campaign called #OneMoreFan. I'll talk about it just now. And I was talking about the merits of the sponsorship gap. We've spoken about the visibility gap. We've spoken about the media gap, the sponsorship gap. I'm sure the gender pay gap is going to come. Guys, there are a lot of gaps. So I just randomly put a post out there and Cass saw it and she said, yay, that's the girl that's coming to the business breakfast. So that's kind of how I got this gig, because I'm passionate about putting women sport on the map. Not because I'm an athlete, but I will tell you that I am a mother to a 7-year-old and I run from the living room to the bedroom I've been doing it since he was born. He's getting heavy, 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 but that's my exercise. That's the only exercise that I do, but I'm here because my heart is in the right place. So I know that I'm wearing red because I'm representing the brand. And yes, that's doing the right thing, but I want people not to see me as momentum as much as possible. Perhaps maybe when we're networking, we can talk about momentum and your career and so forth. But today, can you just see me, or at least for the next 20 minutes, just as a woman? Okay, great. Now that we've got that out of the way, I also want you to know that although I'm not an athlete, I also have one more thing that holds me back, and that I'm not great at technology. So I'm going to just press the green button. Am I right? Does it play? Okay, guys. Another thing is that I love walking around. So if I get off the stage, don't be intimidated. I might come sit with you and talk. I might stand. I might walk around. I'm not a typical keynote speaker. Okay, so yes. Oh, that would be wonderful. Technical. Oh, this is amazing. But now I feel comfortable. Oh, awesome. So I'm going to already get off the stage because I want to be part of the peeps, but I must keep my green button with me. You know, my script's in my head because it's in my heart. All right, let's start off with the video just to warm up the crowd, and just so that you can see some proof points about how we've been involved in putting women on this on the map. It's not. I don't believe in logo slapping, guys. Yo. To all the other brands, if you do it and it works for you, you know, God bless you, great. But logo slapping is just, there's no return on heart. There's no return on effort. Very little return on investment. You've got a logo slap for about 20, 25 years to actually get a return. So you've got to look at it more holistically going forward. But let's see. Let's start off and see if this plays.
This journey to success with this team, we have witnessed how this team has grown. We've got to have.
Okay, it's stuck there, but that's fine. The most important thing is that there we were celebrating the Momentum Proteas. They just come from the ICC World Cup earlier this year. Isn't it exciting, guys? This time, or actually February, between 9 and 26 of February next year, on home soil, South African home soil, we're going to host the Cricket World Cup. I used to work for MTN. I think that's where I know Yolanda from. Her face is very familiar. And when we brought the 2010 FIFA World Cup to Africa, the home soil, guys, there's nothing, you can't buy it. That experience of pride. And I'm hoping we can bring our kids. We must care a little bit. We must bring our grannies and our omas, and we must be proud of our country. We must be proud of our ladies. They are national assets for a reason. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to have a repeat at Ora Tambo. But guys, we've got to promise ourselves it must be 10 times bigger. And everybody must be involved, irrespective of what brand you are, whether you are sponsoring or not, there's a national cause. But let's continue in terms of the presentation. I'm just going to quickly flip. The reason why we're here is because of our, the question of the day is, are we advancing or tiptoeing to greatness? I think we're all going to greatness, guys. I feel it. But are we advancing? Are we accelerating? Are we running? Are we jogging? Are we tiptoeing? I think in certain disciplines, we are racing. And in others, yo. Hi, guys. Hi. we're going backwards. Okay, cool. But that's okay. You know, we're going to have a positive discussion today because we're going to start off with the good news. What I love about the newsroom is that it's punting so much positivity. It's also educating, and at the same time, it's also entertaining. Because I find the news educational, but I'm always like, damn, I didn't know that about her. Damn, I didn't know that about that federation. Damn, I didn't know that about that medal. Damn, I didn't know that she went to that high school. It gets us closer to the athlete, to the human being beyond the sport. Because as sponsors, and I'll get back to the role of the sponsor just now, guys, for me anyway, I don't want to just donate checks because it is easy to give money. I'll say it again. When you have the money, it's easy to give money. When you don't have the money, it's not easy. But when you have the money, it's easy to give money. But to invest emotionally, to look at someone to say, you know what, she struggles when she's interviewed by the media and it's eroding her personal brand. What can I do as a sponsor to lift her up so that she's articulate in front of the media, so she can be confident to build her brand, so she can commercialize herself even after she retires from the sport? Because she's a mother, she's in a relationship, and she needs to be able to feed her kids up until she's 99 and sitting on a rocking chair. That, for me, is hard. Okay? Remember that. Okay, let's talk about the good news. Fantastic. So we've already spoken about this. It was Ashley Kaz's presentation. But the good news is South African women athletes are signing professional deals. Not deals, guys. You know, deals around the corner. Skip on, like, you know, when you sell, I'm a Russian in the township, you know, that kind of like, yo, quick deals on the side, no. Professional deals, whether it's with Rock Nation, whether it's with other agencies, they are signing professional deals. We're being taken seriously, guys, in terms of our ability. When I say ability, I don't only mean physically. Intellectually, we matter. Mentally, we matter. Emotionally, we matter. It's not just about what I can do for a brand or for myself or for the federation on the field. We matter at every level, which means that sports is impacting society. Hold that thought. Sports is impacting society. All right, so I'm going to skip all of this because we've spoken about Bongi. I'm going to walk around a little bit. In terms of Momentum's contribution, so this is, I remember I'm sitting here with a colleague of mine called Ndumiso. He's in the PR team. He's going to hate me for doing this, but he's really, really good at his job. And he says to me, this is Ndumiso, by the way, and Ndumiso says to me, you know what, in terms of Professor's presentation about the stairway, he's like, you know what, we can build confident brands. And even in terms of the gentleman who presented from Nielsen, Mr. 073, ne? We can get in there. Any brand who's got money can get in there. We can get into Supersport. We can get into SABC. We can get anywhere. With money, you can get anywhere. But what you do when you get there matters. Let me unpack it, guys. Not all brands can break through the clutter. In terms of mental bandwidth, we are competing with Nando's. That's sexy. They've got sexy ads. They can also sponsor. You know, Lexus is there. If you think of Lexus, sophisticated, BMWs there. Think of all the brands. Just look around you. There are brands. What we wear, our hair. Everybody is wearing a brand here. Even those that go to China Mall, guys. China Mall is a brand. I'm just telling you now, it's a brand. And so South Africans and all over the world, we're hit with so much all the time. There's only so much space that we can hold onto something for so long. So when you get onto Supersport and you are talking about rugby or netball, or if you are talking about something in print or press, what you do needs to be memorable. If it is not memorable, it will be gone by the end of the day. In which case, if you are punting women's sport and you are linking it to an article, a tweet, Facebook,
print press, etc. By the end of the day, your consumers lost it because there's just too much that they are absorbing. So you as a brand don't only pay for the space and get into great packages, as Mr. 073 alluded to. You've got to think, how am I going to remain memorable? Because if I stay memorable, then I'm actually building the athlete's personality and brand in the mind of the consumer. And if I do that, that's where commercialization starts to become more and more and more and more. We call it the multiplier effect. Okay? And we need to remember that when we go forward. So I'm not going to talk about the stairway because a doctor did quite a good job about it, but I wanted to link onto your presentation to say if there are 8 steps from 1 to 8 in terms of your stairway, momentum is actually playing on step 3 and 4. In simple English, my job as a sponsor is to contribute to the stairway. I have to say, how am I going to put women's sport on the map? Where would I be able to get best bang for buck? And I believe for us, it's to help to build a compelling brand, step number 3. And a compelling brand would be, yes, Momentum must build its brand, for sure. I'm not going to pretend that anyone here is naive. We want to build our brand, for sure. Bank that. Let's bank it. In addition to that, we need to make sure that the athletes that we back are also credible. Because if the athletes that we bank are not credible, they actually destroy the Momentum brand. So it's a quid pro quo. Everybody needs to win. So I need to make sure that you are self-confident, you are self-assured, that your business acumen can serve you while you're on the field and off the field. Imagine if you lose all your money and you go broke and you're sponsored by Momentum. What does that do for a financial services provider? How do I stand up in front of the media and say KG, sponsored by Momentum, goes broke and is now living in a hut? What does that say about me as a sponsor? I have a vested interest in making sure every single person that's attached to the brand at least gets the right and proper financial advisor and financial advice to make sure that even if Momentum exits that relationship and they find a new sponsor, that they have the business acumen to build their brand and stand outside of Momentum. That is true value. It's not about momentum. Okay, that's step number 3. And then the 4th one would be attract potential sponsors. So guys, eyeballs is the new currency. Clickbait is the new thing. So to all the Kardashians, blame the Kardashians. Don't blame me. Blame the Kardashians. Clickbait, eyeballs, impressions, reach. It's all a currency. And as sponsors, we are looking for that. Can I tell you, I'm getting out of women's sports, but I want to give you an example of someone who I love, who's also attached to the Momentum brand. He can say, hoo-ha. And we know that we get 1 million retweets, and that's Cheslin Colby. Literally. Even if he doesn't have content, people, bayamthanda man, bayamthanda apha. And the reason why bayamthanda apha is that he's a family man. He's building his brand around his wife and his kids. He's showing his mistakes. He's vulnerable. He cries. I don't want Cheslin to cry. South Africa wants Cheslin to cry. South Africa wants to see him be a man and a family man at that. South Africa wants to see him go to church. Not me, South Africa. So where South Africa goes, we will go as a sponsor because we're looking for eyeballs, because the number of eyeballs affects the number of people we reach. And as corporates, I'm going to say this very loosely, we are lazy. We don't want to work too hard, guys. If there are 1 million people here and there's one person here, we're going where the 1 million people are. It's just so much easier, you know? So I digress a little bit, but jokes aside, let's talk about the domino effect. We know that a lack of viewership impacts the sponsorship gap. Less eyeballs, I'm not coming. Okay? Can we bank that? If there are no eyeballs in netball, there are no eyeballs in handball, there are no eyeballs in rugby, there are no eyeballs in tennis, I can come in my individual capacity, But as a brand and as a corporate, guys, we are not coming. Which therefore means that the sponsorship gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So we said, guys, what is our role in the country that is South Africa? We can't allow this gap to continue to increase as momentum. And we can't have Telkom or KFC. You know, there are a couple of others that are Spar even. People who've been there through the test of time to continue. How do we attract the RMBs? How do we attract Investec? There's some brands that are always in music, classical. Have you noticed? There's certain things that are linked to being, I don't know, I don't want to say elite, guys, because, you know, someone might quote me. But, you know, there's certain brands that are associated to certain activities, shall we call them? You know? How do we get the people who are sponsoring a classical orchestra underneath the Starry Nights in December, underneath the summer's day? I don't know. How do we get them to back sports? Because it doesn't mean they don't have the money. They probably feel that they are excluded, or they probably feel that they don't belong, or they probably feel that sports is for a particular brand. Let the Momentum people do cricket. They've been in cricket for 20 years without saying no. Actually, Momentum has put a provocation to all JSE listed corporates. Whether you were sponsoring the Starry Nights underneath what, or whether you were in sports before and you quit, we are asking you to come in and help attend to the sponsorship gap. And we would then partner with you to say, okay then guys, build your individual profiles and bring the eyeballs. Federations, build in your eyeballs. Bring the eyeballs and we will come. You do your part. You bring your family. You bring the neighbor. You flick the remote. So people be like, what can I do? Flick the remote. When the Momentum Proteas were playing at 3 a.m. in New Zealand, we got 17,500 Momentum Metropolitan staff members to flick the remote, set the alarm and flick the remote, because DSTV is watching the count. If DSTV and SuperSport watch the account, go up and up and up, they say, guys, there's a sudden shift in people wanting to watch a particular sport, and it will bring other sponsors. Ultimately, the domino effect is a lack of media viewership has an impact on the sponsorship gap. And that sponsorship gap means that the less we buy or sponsor teams, the less they get paid. Danae van die Kerk, the captain of the Momentum Protea team, is never going to get a 10-figure dollar check if Momentum is not putting money in there. But it's not just about Danae. I understand that there are coaches here, there are physiotherapists here, there are administrators here. Your check is also determined by the domino effect here. So you've got a responsibility to get your family and friends to flick the remote at 3 a.m. when the World Cup is here between the 9th and the 26th of Feb. I also believe that the netball guys also have a World Cup. Anyone know when it is? In a year's time. Exactly a year. So I don't sponsor netball, but somebody must convince me to flick the remote. Because it's not about me and whether I sponsor netball. It's about whether Charlotte, in her individual capacity, can go back and convince 17,500 employees to flick the remote to help netball get eyeballs, so that netball can get more sponsors, and so that we can close the sponsorship gap, so that the paycheck and this conversation about equal pay can be, I'm going to use the word, realistic. I'm going to say it again, so that the equal pay, equal play can be realistic. Because we go to conferences and we stand there and on scare, and we have great conversations on stats, and there's a lot of activism. Hey, which is fine, guys. We must do that. But there's some point you need to go back to bed and say, how am I gonna get it done? And how you're gonna get it done, guys, is by getting your friends and your neighbors, men and women, to flick the remote and to get the media to start covering women sports. I move on for the sake of time. So we've talked about the sponsorship gap. I'm going to skip all of this, but it's evidently wide. This stat is from Nielsen. Thank you, Nielsen. Bye, donkey. But it blew me away. $44.9 billion on sponsorship. I was like, guys, pay me my worth. I want to go back to my boss and be like, hi, pay me my worth. This is a lot of money, guys. That's dollars on sponsorship. Look how much goes to men. 90% of it goes to men. We're going to change that, guys. We're not going to stay in the negative. Positive thinking, silver lining thinking. We're going to start eating that pie differently. Okay, I'm going to walk over here because the energy here is high and the energy here is low. And this is where the champions sit. Okay, all right. Momentum. Guys, I'm not supposed to advertise, but remember I'm in marketing. Okay? I'm not going to give a date because UCAS is going to give me a very strong talking to. So I'm just going to say August, September. That's all I'm going to say, August, September. But we're going to have the Momentum G Sport Awards. And what I love about it is that it pulls momentum away from cricket and it allows us one opportunity once a year where we get to speak to and celebrate women athletes and what they've done from high school right through to those who are winning medals at Olympics. But we also get to celebrate the media who are covering those athletes. You know, we get to celebrate you in broadcasting. How amazing. Because if we don't have you on our side, we're dead, you know? And we look at the whole ecosystem and we say, who's 15 in high school in grade 10? That's kicking, you know what I mean? We start there, grassroots, and we celebrate and we get dressed up and we call it the Momentum G Sport Awards. And I love it because I get to not talk only cricket. I get to do netball, guys, even water polo. How amazing. You know, all the stuff that are typically the men kind of sports, we get to see amazing people. Oh, let me not go on, but it's amazing. And it's happening August, September. So this slide is just basically saying that as Momentum, we're not fly-by-nights. There are proof points, and we've been doing it since, I'm going to go through the slide quickly. As Cass said, I'm going to go through it since 2013. To all, if there's any corporate here that doesn't believe in professionalizing sports, come and see me. Come and see me. This is a one slide. We've got a 30-page document that will prove since 2013 what it means to take the financial burden off the Momentum Proteas so that they don't have to worry about eating. You know, they don't go, and I remember, I think who's the medical doctor? I think it's Laura. Laura's Laura. You see, I praat Afrikaans all the time. I'm even changing accents unnecessarily. Laura, my bad. You know, medical doctor, she left that degree and she went and she pursued being a cricketer. She had a choice and she followed her passion. So we want people to focus on their craft. And we have got to take away the financial burden of you worrying what you're going to eat, how you're going to pay your bond. Just play your sport. Our job as a sponsor is to make sure when you eat, your kids are sorted out. Go play sports in Europe and whatever the case is so that Sky News can cover you and you can bring back gold for the country. And so we've got a business case to say, first start small if you're worried. I'm not going to lie. Guys, we didn't pay all of them all at the same time. It was 1, 2, skip a few, and we're like, damn, this is working. Until the full team was covered. But you don't learn from us. Pay for all of them. And I think I'm going to end here. This is Dane van die Kerk. So let's listen to her and see if it plays.
Wins. It's what we play for, our success on the field. But today, we chase a different way, off the field. To challenge the sponsorship gap is something you can change by simply watching us play. Because when you watch, you invite others to watch. You bring more fans, sponsors, and broadcasters. You help to grow the game. When you watch, you give future female generations a platform. Freedom on the field, financial security off it. Our success becomes theirs. When you watch, you give us momentum. You help level the playing field and make us all champions. When you watch, our success grows and you'll win.
And you know why that was so important? We needed athletes to talk about the topic, not the corporate. It's her lived experience, not ours. We just had to enable it. And I think I'm not going to talk much about the gender pay gap, but that basically shows you, this is South Africa. Look how many brands sponsor men and women. I'm not here to fight, guys. I'm just showing you what Nielsen showed us. Look at soccer, look at rugby, look at cricket. Just compare. Size does matter. Just moving on for the sake of time. I'm not going to preach to you. You all know the things that hold us back. But if I was to put it in a tweet, I think I'll put this on LinkedIn today. A female athlete's reality is that we've got limited access to coaches, training, facilities, equipment, and of course, lower bonuses because of the gender pay gap. I'm going to move on. This is also my favorite. I didn't know that this golfer existed. So when I did homework research, I found out that she, in terms of history, guys, she's Swedish. Yeah, I didn't know her. And that she's one of the best golfers of all time. And that Tiger's still beating her in terms of professional deals. I was like, but isn't Tiger behind somewhere? I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I just said, make reality your friend. Media, if you're here, please, guys, I'm begging you. You actually influence how women athletes are perceived. And that perception affects their commerciality. Please stop looking at our scars. We age. It's normal. Oh, Mama Koshi also ages. Just letting you know, I age. So please, when you compare men and women, don't comment on the appearance of our faces. Don't highlight the fact that we have families. Guess what? The male athletes, they also have families. Why are you highlighting that I have a family? What's that got to do with the sport? Makes no sense. And don't. If you mentioned that Marizana has got angry eyes, but. Yes, but we are on the field. We must be angry. We must beat the competitor. All of us. Men and women are emotional. In summary, because of time, I'm going to skip this slide, and I'm going to end off by saying that as the media, you have a responsibility to play fair, report on the facts, depict us in a way that focuses on our ability, mental, emotional, and otherwise. And remember that how you position us, the sponsor is reading that paper. You are affecting Charlotte's ability to decide if she's going to take that money and do another campaign, or actually redirect that money to decide who the next woman athlete she's going to invest in to then drive their career forward. That's how much power you have in terms of perception and in terms of making sure that you affect momentum and internally or indirectly affect RMB. RMB will not come unless momentum goes to RMB. Look at the domino effect and understand your power. It was a bit of a keynote, a lecture presentation, lots of jokes. It was a 5-in-1. But I hope there's something that landed with you more than anything else. For those of you that are looking to change your careers, I've changed mine 4 times in my lifetime, and I'm proud I own my success, and I have got testimony and scars on my back. I'm ready and waiting with a croissant when you're ready. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And it's Jean from Nielsen. Now, just now afterwards, he says, you called me Mr. 073. Please. All right, because of time, we're running out of time. So I'm just going to have a quick Q&A with a living legend, loved by South African media, adored by all of us, because also for me, KG is an athlete. He's an international athlete who's always available for interviews. I never understood why athletes that are, okay, I don't want to say a big deal, but they're not a big deal. When I asked them for interviews, they would send me to this person, that person, but international athlete that's in Paris will answer a WhatsApp. And I'd say, please, can you send me a voice note, KG? I want to play this on radio. Or even Desiree Ellis as a coach, the Banyana players, not a single please speak to manager, speak to agents, because they understood that I was there doing the right thing at the right time for the South African public. So thank you for always being such a star athlete.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, let's quickly get into it and talk about money, right? Yeah, we need to talk about money because you signed while we were at home during COVID. I was in my pajamas, 24/7. You were signing deals. While the rest of the country was at home. Yes, Amy, please do share with us that secret. Some of the athletes here are obviously quite curious. How did that come about?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first say thanks to Rake and Kurs. It's really great to see G-Sport really growing. And I just feel like me and you, we share the same journey. We've been growing together. Yeah, coming on your question level, I mean, I think I have the greatest team in the country.
Yeah.
So big up to Amy. You know, tennis is not a popular sport in the Black community. And I think she understood the mandate when I came to the team because she asked me one simple question, like, KG, what you need? And I gave her a simple answer. I just want to play tennis. And that's how our first conversation went. And that was it. I didn't have to explain myself much, who I am, what I've achieved. I don't know. Her and her sister, they did all the homework because you put them on the spot and they brought me in. I mean, by the time we had our first meeting, they already had a spreadsheet and, I'm like, and the presentation. And I'm like, wow. So I think they understood the mandate of what I needed, which it was just to play tennis. And that's all they've been giving me on how they scooped 10 sponsors in 2 weeks for the first time we met. I don't know how they did it. Amy was going to have to answer all those questions. But I think they understood my journey. You know, being Black and disabled and playing tennis, it just sounds unbelievable that it could happen. So I just feel like my story touched them and they always have an inspiration to them. And because they're doing it out of pro bono, that's why they work so hard, because it's not only to help me, but we have the whole nation of disadvantaged background kids to inspire.
Sure, you've touched on so many aspects, but I want to get Charlotte's thoughts and Jean's thoughts. They talked about the role the media plays. What role do you think the media can play now, moving on, to help other athletes so that they are in a better position to attract sponsors?
For me, like you said, with the media, I've always been available for the media. I just wish the media could also develop interest in other athletes, because for me, I used to feel like the reason I should give them time is simply because they are also working, you know, they need material. So why not be available, you know, for them to be earning a salary, they should be giving something, you know. But I never saw it in a way that it also giving me, you know, a good mileage. But it also helped me to be able to talk to the people, you know, how I contact myself in the media, how I talk to the media. So they also contributed to my career. But my wish is for them to focus more on other athletes, because I came up as no one and they always had interest in me. So it's their responsibility to go and find other superstars. So they shouldn't be running after all the famous names that we hear in the country. Because how I came up, I just gave them time, and here I am today. And they will be like, KG is always available. But if you go and target someone who was in a similar situation as me, then it will grow, and women in sports, it will be at the top. So I just feel like they shouldn't be focusing more on those well-established athletes.
And how important is it for yourself to stay in a light that is able to attract sponsors, knowing that a sponsor, like Charlotte said, you've got to have some sort of integrity. They can't put all the money onto you and then you go and do the opposite of what the brand says, you know? How do you ensure that you staying aligned with your beliefs, obviously your professionalism throughout, because you've got the likes of Avon on your back, you've got a car sponsor, you've got a clothing sponsor that I know you're big on. I mean, it's a lot to handle. So how do you maintain that?
It takes the best team, you know.
Okay, Amy, we're now coming after you after this.
Because you know, with Amy, she's not only my manager, my agent, my boss. She's a good mentor too, and she's a great leader too.
True.
So I think what brings all the sponsors, I would like to think Kes and Rick are great leaders, because I think Amy is a great leader. Like I said, tennis is not a popular sport. How they go out there and sell me, I don't know how they do it, because nobody really knows about wheelchair tennis.
True.
But they understand the language, they understand the brand that I am. So that's why when they go out there, they make sure that they get the best deal, you know. And it's great because we even landed our second international deal. So that's how great the team is.
When? Who? Tell us.
I don't know how she do it, but they understand the brand that I am. And because of their great leadership, I think that's why they're managing to get me all the support that I need. And remember, the mandate for them is simple. They need to get KG to play tennis to be able to achieve a better ranking in the world.
All right. So I like the fact that their job is to get KG to play better tennis. I can't stand the way we're talking about Banyana. And within the bonus conversation, we're mentioning, yeah, but that one is for transport and accommodation. How are we talking about African champions? In the same breath, we're saying, no, part of the bonus is for accommodation and transport. There's no way you'll get a high-performing athlete when we're talking accommodation and transport. Obviously, they need to sleep somewhere and they need to get to the destination. But now, coming back to the new sponsor, Amy, you said you just signed it this week, an international sponsor.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
So this week we signed a French sponsor called Solvay, which is industrial chemical company.
Wow.
And they're with her all the way through to the Paralympics, and they've offered her a job post-career.
What? Wow. All right. Okay, congratulations. I think one last job for me today is to connect. So if you want to know how Amy is doing it, she's also available, 071, her number. But please get in touch with her because it is possible. We always talk about athletes with a disability as if it's an afterthought. So we always say, Bafana, Banyana. It's athletes, and then there's athletes with a disability. But that's not the case because they all the time, always anyway, bring the most medals from Olympic Games. Tell me about the Avon sponsor because that's quite, you know. And I used Avon, by the way.
Don't I look the part? Don't you see the glow and the beauty?
That was a big sponsor.
Like I said, I mean, I haven't seen my team's notes. I don't really know how they're selling me. I've never asked the secret. For me, as long as I'm playing tennis, you know,
looking good.
As long as I'm traveling comfortably, that's what I'm happy about. How they go on to Avon and say we've got a tennis player, and everyone went like yes. I don't know how they did it, but like you were mentioning, as women athletes, I mean, why not get a beauty sponsor if, you know, you're always glamorous like the Banyana player with the lipstick who's embracing the feminine side of herself. So why not get a beauty sponsor? Like, I just feel like you can sell the athletes in different way. The most important thing with athletes, they just need to have good representative, you know, or good teams with great leadership. That's how you'll be able to sell them. And like she said, we just signed a chemical company. So if you sit down and ask yourself, chemical company, how does a chemical company has to do with sports? You know what I'm saying? But what I believe is that in every corporate company, there's always that area in the company that has to do with, that has to cover those issues of, you know, diversity, inclusion. I would like to feel every company has that. And it just takes your representative to tackle that particular angle, you know. So I just feel like that's what it really takes for your team to go, you know, sell your brand out there. I feel like you can just sign any company as long as you're being well represented. Because Amy brought Nike caught into, I mean, as part of the sponsorship. I don't know how she did that, you know, having to be in the same campaign with your Serena Williams, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember one time Nike rushing us to sign to sign something, and Emma was like, no, I'm not ready. They must do better.
And then you said, no,
and I'm
we
like,
are ready.
no, Emmy, my Jordans. And she's like, I don't care. You know, so you can just see that it really takes a great leader in your team to really sell you properly. Everyone has a price tag, to be honest, but it's just how they sell your story to that particular company.
All right, we have run out of time. I don't want to keep everybody here for too long. Before you go, KG, we'd just like to hand over a token of, this is not even a token of appreciation, but it's a token that symbolizes the collaborative efforts that G Sport for Girls is doing in order to give to the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, in order to grow women in sport, facilitating conversations like these so we can empower our women athletes. So I'd like, Marek, if you can assist me on this one. Thank you very much. Director of Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, Sipesi Klemchali, please to come on to the stage on behalf of the department to get the systemic stay away token from G Sport for Girls. Congratulations. And last, but before we go, I'd like to call on the champion, former player, former captain, former sister in analysis of sports. That's Desiree Alice onto the stage. Award winner. I mean, do you want? Oh, I want you first to say something.
I was rather worried when I see a podium. I'm always worried if I can see over the podium. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I'll say a similar story, and I've been telling this story for a I've been telling this story for a while. You know, when we got together as a group, before we even started camping, we had the local-based players, and then the overseas-based players came in because we had to give them time to rest, obviously, as their seasons all end at the end of May. So when they came in, we had a conversation with them, and I think it was important because we needed to be on the same page. So we asked them what their ambitions were. And Jermaine said, we want to win it. And I said, okay, there's a small matter first of qualification for World Cup and then winning it. She said, we want to win it because when we win it, we qualify for the World Cup. We also spoke about them setting the culture, about them, you know, setting the standards, about them raising the levels, about holding each other accountable, because it's all about them. It's not about us. And they were in absolute agreement. And Janine said, we have a lot of experience in the room. You know, Tembi actually said, if you get 1 minute, let it be your best 1 minute. If you get 5 minutes, let it be your best 5 minutes. And if you're on the bench, become the biggest cheerleader. We said, trust us. We won't leave someone at home who we think is going to win us the championship. Trust us. And they did. Then when we got to Morocco, we started working. We knew that we could maybe or maybe not get a friendly because it was very close and we didn't want to get a friendly too close to the competition, but they kept working. I think our goalkeeper coach actually mentioned we had a couple of friendlies during the tournament because you need match fitness. And our first game was most probably our best game. We knew it was important, and I think it became bigger when it was Nigeria. But we've beaten them before, so there was no fear. Absolutely no fear. And I thought that the players were amazing on the day. We showed the true Kasi flavor. We showed what South Africans are made of. We were true to who we were. Second game, we played Burundi. I think we could have beaten them 10, 12-0. It didn't happen. And people said, we didn't play well. I thought we played reasonably well. We just didn't score the goals. The next game was Botswana, a familiar team that gave us a lot of heartache when we lost to them in the qualifier for the Olympics, but we've beaten them since then. They didn't come to win. And then we had Ntabi Singh Majia come on, an 18-year-old. I think a timing was just right to make this team, scoring the winner. On to the semi-final, and yes, sorry, the quarter-final. And that's where I almost died. I think you almost died as well. But we could have won that game hands down, but the true resilience of this team, the true effort, the true teamwork, I mean, was amazing. And then the celebrations was on. And Tembi was there, and I was so glad she was there. It was a somber mood when she got injured, but she said, you know what? It happens to the best of us, but we still have an objective, and I will be your biggest cheerleader. And she was there, and we qualified. There were a couple of tears, a little bit of a celebration, but we knew we had another game coming. We also played Zambia in the semifinals, and they'd beaten us at Kosafa, third and fourth place playoff. They'd beaten us in a friendly 3-0, and I know most of you were angry, but we trusted the process. We knew where we wanted to be. In that game, we were physically not ready. There was 2 weeks of preseason with clubs, but we needed something because the overseas-based players were regularly playing. We lost 3-0 and we were slaughtered, but we just carried on. Now we're playing Zambia. We were playing fantastic football. And I must admit, first off, we didn't play as well as we could, but second off, we truly showed who we were. And yes, VAR intervened. So what? We didn't make that decision. We were VAR'd at the World Cup, and we didn't complain. So we grabbed it with both hands, and Linda scored, and we were in the final. So we were celebrating again. And I think the day before the final, Daryl Kutris reminded me of 2015 when we went to Equatorial Guinea, when we saw just a sea of red, and there was no fear. Jermaine got the winner. So they had no fear because the president zoomed us and he asked them, are you bringing back the trophy? And confidently, they said yes. On the day of the final, as we were driving, we just saw people walking to the stadium. I mean, loads of people. When we got there, it was packed already. But we had this band of fans. We don't know where they came from, but they just followed us wherever we played. And then Cecil brought some fans. So there was like, I think 20 or 50 fans in the stadium. And as the players walked out for the pitch walk, some were doing this, some were clapping us because it was Moroccans, of course. And they started singing and dancing. We were even told to keep quiet in the dressing room. Man, it's our dressing room, not yours. So we just carried on. And they had this famous song, what was it called? Mother's Prayer. That was the big thing, Mother's Prayer. So I think that's the new anthem of Banyana Banyana. So anyways, we walk onto the pitch. They come back inside, we get ready to go out for the warm-up. I could sit quietly and just look around. There wasn't even place for an ant in that stadium. It was so packed. Then we sing the national anthem. And we couldn't even hear the tune because they were making so much noise. And I remember the doctor singing it at the top of his voice, false and whatever, but he was singing at the top of his voice. Asha came to me while I was sitting there and she asked me, are you good? How are you? I said, I'm good. It's up to them now. And we told them, you might not hear us, but now you need to play for each other. Now you need to help each other on the pitch. Now, this is your day. This is your day. And boy, oh boy, were they not magnificent? Boy, oh boy, but at the end, again, we give a goal away. In actual fact, all 3 goals we gave away was errors on our part. All 3 goals we gave away. And we always say when we keep a clean sheet, we will win this game. And that's why that trophy is there. From the goalkeeping department. And remember, in 2018, Andile never played 1 game. Kaylin was the goalkeeper. So they give each other a lot of competition. First goal, second goal, then we concede. But they were so resilient. And then I saw 9 minutes. Oh my goodness. I almost died. A friend of mine from Nigeria said, she asked, who died? I kept turning my back and asking the assistant coach, Coach T, how much time? 7 minutes. Coach T, how much time? 6 minutes. And it went on 5 minutes, 4 minutes. But I think they made a mistake because the referee only blew 6 minutes. But were there celebrations afterwards? And when I looked at the video, I saw Thalia running and throwing off a bib. I don't know why. We were crying. I was screaming into the video, SA, this is for you. SA, this is for you. I was just going nuts. But I think it was an occasion where we knew, even though they had 45 to 50, we had 60 million. We had 60 million behind us. We felt the support, we felt the praise. And even during load shedding, people were sitting with their little computers or even listening to the radio, making sure that they get a bit of the game. And we knew, I think, when Nelson Mandela says sport unite, it definitely did in this trying time. I mean, you talked about corporates, ma'am. You talked about corporates. I think other corporates must be very jealous. Cecil has got 2 successive World Cups, 2 successive Olympics, 2 successive finals, and a gold medal. So we're always urging corporates to come on board, and I don't know why they do not come on board, because this surely gives you a bit of clout. It has to give you a bit of clout. I mean, when you look at what women's football has done, what more do they need to do? But we will continue raising the flag because it's important that we raise the flag. And through that, we create opportunities for others. I mean, we have so many players playing abroad, and we will have more after AFCON. I can tell you that 100%. We have 2 more going overseas. I can't divulge where and who, but we have 2 going overseas, which is actually fantastic for the team. But we want to say thank you to SAFA. As much as they get slaughtered in the media, they have been very helpful. They have come on when we needed them the most. During the COVID cases, they stood up and helped us. They've given us support. The CEO's door is always open, and I always go into that door. And I sit down and I have my say, and we discuss, and it helps. So it's not all bad, guys. It's not all bad. They do good things for us as well. And a big, big, big thank you to Cecil. I think if Cecil was not around, I can't even imagine where women's football would be. Now Hollywood Bet has come on board. But the money needs to filter down to the clubs. The money needs to filter down to the players. And that's why we need more corporates to come on board. And I don't know why they're waiting. What's your number, Lydia? 083? So, lastly, a big thank you to the fans, because they are the ones we play for. They are the ones that send us those messages that we take hours to answer. They are the ones that supported us through thick and thin. And when we got to the airport, it was very emotional. I think we don't realize the magnitude of what we've done. I don't think it has sunk in yet. But when it sinks in, you'll realize what you've done. You've united the nation, girls. You've made people stand up and look at women in sport, not just women's football. And you've got to be proud of what you've done. But the work is not over, right? The work is not over. Because come the World Cup, we want to do better. We want to show how we've grown, what we've learned. And a good friend of mine, Colin Udo, Mercy Akidi's husband, he kept saying, Banyana is the best team on the African continent. But we needed this to prove that we were the best team. And we say thank you to South Africa. Mzansi, this is for you. Thank you.
I think that is the end of our program. Desiree has hijacked my program. Des. Sorry. Ah, babe. Oh, should I be in the picture as well? I might as well. Okay, let's move the chairs. Let me move the chair. I'll move the furniture. who's taking pictures? Babe, please take and send to me. Will you send to me? Will you send the pic? So much to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Julian Day, for his insights into the systemic stairway, and Jean Villiers from Nielsen Sport SA for his insights. The research is definitely going a long way. He is still here. And Charlotte Nsubuka Mukasa. Did I say it correct? AKA Charlie, thank you so much. I absolutely loved that. And girls, remember, I don't know Mvula's numbers because there's a contact Haslanganisa here. As well as, yes, I mean, Kes, thank you so much. Hey? 2 words, okay.
Lebu is such a partner in crime. She knows I've got her digits and I'm keep going there. I want you to stand with me. The reason why she was chosen is there's so much support for women's sport now, but these are the pioneer media supporters. These are the ones who did it when Natalie DeToy was participating, when all the ones that came before. So I think that what Banyana did is a victory for someone like you as well. So congratulations to Lebu Motswedi, an outstanding MC today. It's G Sport's 16th birthday on Monday. We turn sweet 16. So all the athletes are in the room to come on stage to blow out candles. It's Natalie DeToy, Andile Damini, Talia Smith,
Come.
I want the athletes to come here because this initiative belongs to you. It belongs to you. So our final moment is for us to say happy birthday to you.
Oh, this is nice. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear King Sport. Happy birthday to you. How old are you now? 16. How old are you? 16. Happy birthday, G-Sport. Look at this. Like, make a wish for women's sport, ladies.